to still being there with us. Executive Director, International Press Center, Lanre Arogundade joins us now. We'll have a double barrel of issues to take up with him. Of course, the controversial nomination of Lauretta Onochie as a National Commissioner with the Independent National Electoral Commission, and the plans by the Nigerian government to regulate the media, broadcast media and social media. Thank you so much, Mr. Arogundade, for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Mr. Arogundade, let's begin again with that petition to the Senate about the nomination of Lauretta Onochie. Tell us why you support that petition once again, for clarity's sake.
Why we support, or why we tender the petition?
Yes. Why you tendered that petition?
Just to make it clear, we're doing this in the public interest. We're doing this in the interest of our democracy, because we believe that the essence of democracy is that whatever is done by those in leadership must be in conformity with the constitution of the country. Now, if you look at some of the constitutional provisions governing the question of nomination for the position of INEC Commissioner, you will discover that in this particular instance, there are cases of violation. So we have a number of grounds for our petition. Now, if you look at section 154.3, 156.1a, third schedule, item F, paragraph 14.2a, and 14.3b of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, and you do a combined reading of these provisions, they demand that the president, before appointing an individual as INEC National Commission, must first consult the Council of States before forwarding the nomination to the Senate for confirmation. We do not have any indication that this was done in the particular instance of the National Commissioner who is being nominated. Now, there is also this other provision that an INEC National Commissioner should be non-partisan. And this is stated in section 156.1a of the 1999 Constitution. And that section clearly prohibits the appointment of any person who is a member of a political party as a member of INEC. And this is further, clarified, in the third schedule and a number of provisions. Nobody has disputed the fact that Mrs. Lauretta Onochie is not only a card-carrying member of the APC, he is special assistant to the president on social media, and we do know that also she has engaged in a number of inflammatory conduct. Well, again, we have documented cases, and I think this is also very, very interesting, especially when we're also talking about the issue of social media, fake news, and the rest of them, that this particular nominee has actually used his position as special assistant to disseminate a number of fake news. And an analysis of this was done by Premium Times in February 2019, where they gave a number of instances where she used her accounts to carry fake news as a form of campaign strategy. We attached this as Appendix 3 in the petition that we submitted, because we have a number of examples where this happened. And in our petition, we actually provided a four examples. For example, in September 2018, Mrs. Onochie tweeted a picture of an asphalt road being constructed with the caption Nasarawa Jos Road, painting the picture that it was a road constructed by the federal government, and this turned out to be false. The picture was actually a stock photo uploaded to Getty Images in November 2015, and this was an embarrassing inaccuracy. In December 2018, she shared an image of former President Obasanjo with a quote credited to him. The morning articles told when he was my vice is enough to feed 300 million for 400 years. This was discovered to be fake, to be wrong, and the number of fact-checking was done by the International Center for Investigative Reporting, which indicated that there was no time that former President Obasanjo made such direct statements. So the petition is quite comprehensive, And basically, these are some of the grounds of that, petition. And so, like I said at the beginning, what we are looking at in this instance is just the question of, the public interest, what is good for Nigeria. Because whatever we do today, we are setting, precedents. And it is not as if we're not consistent in doing this. Consistently, under the previous government, we highlighted instances of constitutional violation, and we called attention to the fact that this must not be done. So essentially, we're just trying to be helpful to the Senate. We're trying to let them understand that whatever they do must be in accordance with the Constitution. This is definitely not anything about the person of Onochie or the fact that it's a woman. As a matter of fact, the NGOs that are part of this petition, that signed this petition, have also been at the forefront of promoting inclusivity in our public affairs. We are at the forefront of fighting for the fact that there should be affirmative action to promote participation of women in governance. We are part of campaigns to ensure that people living with disability are part of governance. So we're doing this basically, like I said, on the basis of the fact that we believe that the Constitution must always be followed as much as possible.
Tell us, what is the real danger in the nomination of Onochie now, as far as the integrity of INEC is concerned? We know that it's going to go through a process, a screening process, and confirmation or no confirmation. But before we even get to that, the nomination in the first place, what threat and danger does it pose to INEC as an institution?
Well, I think the threat is clear. It's going to further affect the level of public confidence in the Independent National Electoral Commission. This is a commission that has had to face a number of challenges, managing the elections in difficult times, managing the 2015 elections, managing the 2019 elections, and some other elections. As it were, INEC does not even have enough national commissioners, although the INEC National Commissioner for Media and Publicity, Festus Okoye, has said that that might not necessarily be a problem because they have mechanisms of taking care of that. But we want a situation where, because when it comes to electoral matters, elections, everybody looks up to INEC, and we always talk about credible, fair, and elections. Where you have somebody who is extremely politically compromised coming in as national commissioner, it will shake public confidence in that institution, such that no matter how much that institution is doing, how much effort is putting into ensuring that our elections are free and fair, the perception out there would be that the body is being manipulated. And that is why we're also doing this to help INEC itself, because part of our mandate, especially those of us who signed this petition, including YAGA Africa, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center, Nigeria Women Trust Fund, that's also quite instructive, the Albino Foundation, the Institute for Media and Society. You could see that we cut across different interest groups: Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, Premium Time Center for Investigative Journalism, Center for Democracy and Development, the Clean Foundation. We're all part of it, of course, including my organization, the International Press Center, because over time we have also worked, some of us, at the level of the European Union support to democratic governance in Nigeria. We've worked with INEC to ensure that INEC is able to produce credible elections in diverse areas. Now, we don't want a situation where a spanner will be thrown into our works, because that is what would happen should this nomination go through. And it's going to raise a whole lot of controversies. And I do not think that this is what Nigeria was at this point. I can predict on top of my head that if this nomination goes ahead, you're likely to have an avalanche of court cases challenging it, possibly by opposition parties. And you ask yourself, is this what we want?
Lanre,
we're talking of, yes.
Lanre, are you concerned about the fact that recall the issue of the former acting chairman of EFCC, who was in that in acting capacity for about 5 years, whose nomination was rejected by the Senate, but the executive, the president, insisted, and he kept on working as the czar of EFCC for 5 years, like I said. do you see a situation where it will not matter what whether the nomination of Onochie goes through or not? Do you see the same scenario playing out?
Well, I would not like to engage in speculation at this point in time. Rather, what we would say is that all Nigerians should join us, other civil society groups, the media, all institutions that are concerned about free and fair elections in Nigeria should join us to ensure that we do not go Magu way in this particular matter. And I do not think that this would happen, because we're talking of a clear case of so many constitutional provisions that explain the process or the processes by which somebody could be appointed as an INEC National Commissioner. And in this particular matter, I think we have public interest behind us. The fact that we have come to a stage in this country where Nigerians are concerned about the fact that whether we want democracy to work or we do not want democracy to work. Okay. So this is not the time for us to speculate, but this is the time for us to say that let us all join hands to ensure that things are properly done, so that we can help our democracy, we can act in the public interest, and we can ensure that our constitution is not just there as a mere paper whose provisions can be ignored at the whim and caprice of the executive.
All right, Lanre, let's switch over to the other subject matter which we intend to interrogate with you. That's the amendment bill of the NBC Act pending before the House of Representatives. Far-reaching proposals has been made in that amendment, including the regulation of digital media in Nigeria, and of course what industry players in the broadcast sector also consider an over-regulation of the broadcast sector in the country. What are your thoughts on this, and what dangers are lurking if this particular proposal made by the government goes ahead?
Well, we're having multiple threats against the press freedom in Nigeria. In the House of Representatives, we have two bills. The first is for the amendment of the National Broadcasting Act, so you could call it the NBC Act. And then the second one is for the amendment of the Nigerian Press Council Act, the NPC Act. Those are the two amendments before the National Assembly. Before now, we have the bill for the establishment of the National Hate Speech Commission and the bill to regulate the social media. So we're talking about 5 laws that are targeted at the media. There's a 5th one which I will talk about shortly. Now, the danger in this particular one, in fact, that of NBC, has a number of proposed amendments that would further erode the independence of the broadcast media in Nigeria, that will make the broadcast media essentially to exist in a state of fear of the NBC. Now, what we see in both cases is that there's an attempt to make the Nigerian media a department of the Office of the Minister of Information, and which is clearly not desirable nor acceptable to us. And I did make a point at the public hearing in Abuja last week that people must think of the consequences of their actions. You might be in government today as a Minister of Information. Tomorrow you might become a media owner. How would you feel if you have an NBC Act that says that your station can be shut down for an alleged breach of the Nigerian Broadcasting Code, and that for you to be able to challenge that in court, you would have to wait for a period of 30 days, which means, in essence, that your business could be paralyzed, your staff could lose their jobs until you are even able to go to court. And I'm happy to say that one of the members of the House of Representatives Committee on Information that looked at this, that organized the public hearing, actually said that he was opposed, to that. Again, we are worried that in the case of the board of the National Broadcasting Commission and the Nigerian Press Council, the two bills, the proposed amendments, will not make provision for the confirmation of the National Assembly. We're just discussing a confirmation process where we're calling on the National Assembly to do the needful. Because when you look at democracy clearly, it's because we have the parliaments, the national and state assemblies, that we say we have democracy. Because under the military, we had the executive and we had the judiciary. Now, in those two cases, and unlike other regulatory bodies like the National Communications Commission, the amendment bills do not make provision for the confirmation of the National Assembly. It all is at the level of the Minister of Information and the President. And we're saying that if NBC will be truly independent, will be free of political interests controlling it, then the processes of awarding license and so on should be done by the NBC. And the process of also appointing members of the board should be done by the, with the confirmation. The nomination will come from the President, or the confirmation will be done by the National Assembly. Currently, the decision of the National Assembly is completely removed from this process. There's another provision which would interest you.
Lanre, is it even proper to have the government, I mean the NBC, which works directly under the presidency, I would say that, control or regulate the media? Is that fair? Is that standard practice in a democracy?
It's tenets of democracy. They shouldn't control it. That is why we're saying that the appointment of the board must now be a responsibility of the National Assembly. So you take it away from the executive.
All right.
But definitely you can't take it completely away from government, and the legislature is part of government. But the legislature is that part of government that is actually elected. Because you are looking at a situation whereby, if you look at the Press Council Act, it says, for example, in the proposed amendment, that there will now be a new, what they call the National Press Code, which would be drawn up and approved by the Minister of Information. I mean, the minister is not elected. That is just the truth of the matter.
All right.
Only the president and the vice president are elected.
We're going to have to leave it at that. We're going to have to leave it at that.
I think there's so much to talk about this particular
there's so much to talk about.
Because it affects us directly. I mean, Larry.
But there's a fifth one. Because there's another bill in the National Assembly for the amendment of the Electoral Act. In that particular bill, too, there is a section, I think section 100, where they are now saying that if a media organization violates the section of the Electoral Act that has to do with media responsibility, the media house can be fined, and then the editors can also be equally fined. That is a new one. So what I'm saying is that we are facing a legislative assault on the media in Nigeria at the level of 5 proposed bills before the National Assembly. And I hope the media will wake up to this danger.
Absolutely.
Larry, we can only hope that the National Assembly will read in between the lines and see exactly what is playing out here, and be able to protect the media, as it is the fourth estate of the realm, as we all know. The Executive Director, International Press Center, Lanre Arogundade, has joined us to look at the petition at the Senate over the nomination and screening of President's Special Assistant on Social Media, Lauretta, Onochie, and has also touched on the amendment on the NBC Act. We want to thank you very much, Lanre, for your time. We hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Definitely very soon, because if we look at the provisions of the amendment bill, I mean, it's scary. So, quite scary.
It is.
And it just goes to, raise questions on what really is the agenda of the government. The government that just has 2 years left in office and wants to gag everything completely and control what the media says.